and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. My name is Jed. Welcome to our chatters today. We are continuing to read Socrates and Jesus, a Dialogue in Heaven. I'm a wee bit sweepy because I've had a big music day today. I played a couple of different times today, a little bit sleepy, but I can't stop reading this book. I need to read this book. This book is so good. I heard Space Wizard Human Inbreeding. That's delightful. This is Professor Richard Explains. He's got a YouTube channel where he debunks charlatans who propagandize belief. They use Christian beliefs to manipulate people to vote and act against their own interests. And they claim to be scientists while lying about science. So these believers will be convinced that the government should defund science, teach religion in schools, and allow the billionaires to steal everything, keep people very, very stupid so they can be more easily manipulated. That's the right-wing agenda. And Professor Richard Explains, I think it's called, does a very good job, because he actually knows science, debunking these charlatans, most of which have appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast. Right-wingers. There is no right-wing political movement. By definition, it's just the Pathologos Party. It's the party with a clan-based identity based on injustice and ignorance. That's it. Also, the left-wing party isn't doing their job because they're supposed to be progressive, but they lack what they need to be progressive. That's understanding. Understanding of the logos. Not just understanding, but a paradigm as well. The logos is both the understanding of the parts and the apprehension of the paradigm. So that's politics. And currently, because the left wing are so fucking stupid in that they don't have understanding, they don't do the dialectic, they don't have the logos, they have set the stage for the stupidest, most ignorant and sadistic sadists to take over. That's belief-based human beings. Why? Because belief doesn't actually have a knowledge. There is no feeling associated with belief, so how do you know you're a good believer? Well, you can't make anything with belief, but you can sure as hell destroy things with belief. Start wars, genocides, crusades. So, while they can hurt people, they can't help people. That requires understanding. That's the third highest cognitive function. It requires knowledge of the good. That's the second. And ultimately, you want to reach the self, which is the first. 1, 2, 3. Belief is in opposition to 1, 2, and 3. By definition, because if you understood, you wouldn't need to believe someone else. If you had knowledge of the paradigm, you wouldn't need to believe. Well, you wouldn't take a belief in sadism or a belief in ignorance as a model. And of course, you don't have to believe anyone that you're a self, but you do have to believe anyone that God wants you to kill the brown people or whatever. So, belief is the cognitive function that is the cause of all human problems that we are here to get out of, and the political party bound by that very source of problems and injustice is the right wing. We don't have an actual political party. That would require 3 and 2, understanding and knowledge. And of course the left is the fifth, which of people who've left belief, but downward. They don't have any idea of the whole, they don't do anything. So that's the state of our political affairs. And all this is taking everything we've been learning and applying it analogically on 3 levels. Great, how are you? The first one is our individual soul. Every human being gets false beliefs. That's why we're here. All of our false beliefs are unique and different. while all following the same structure, which means all human problems are understandable, but there is also a reason why your particular soul has the unique variety it has. So problems are part of being here. And they're solvable. They're entirely rational. The cause of your blocks, your own injustice towards yourself and others, are an unsuspected false belief that you got from childhood. We've looked at the conditions. The conditions for that false belief is a reflection of an enlightenment scene, only it's our parents pretending to be the brilliant light of being, knowing, caring, loving, while imitating their own parents and doing to us what was done to them, passing on a family curse of injustice that goes all the way back to caveman times. So this is the case for every single human being. Every single human being, therefore, gets problems that are solvable, and it's all unique. Even under the same circumstances, your soul will make sense of it differently, telling us that you are specifically here for a reason. Your soul has to learn something. It has to purify that false image of the self as part of your soul's development from the single soul back to return to that single soul, and ultimately to know the self. So, this purification of false belief is everyone's duty and job and meaning of life. To do that, you have to learn how to reason. That's the dialectic. The structure of reasoning is dialectic. It's not debate. Debate is shouting opinions at people and threatening to blow them up if they disagree with you. Debate is bullshit. Dialectic is the art we're here to learn. So, we're all here to do that. Now, once we're free of our false beliefs, we are free to go on to move to understanding, and that's what we've been looking at lately. What is the state of being? While believers are in conflict, they are other from others, they are other from their own soul, they're in conflict within, they're other from others in their group. There's lots of infighting between different religions and different sects within religion killing each other, which is a belief. And other from understanders, they hate people who think the most because understanding is a threat to their beliefs because beliefs are false. If that's the state of being of a believer, what's the state of being of understanding? Because that's where we want to move into. That's what we've been looking at. That's the puzzle we've been puzzling about. So, on an individual level, that's what we're here for. Everyone, by definition. Which is neat. And we learned that just by reading the book. Now, we had to reflect on how we were reading and learn a new way of reading, which is reading without taking our own personal beliefs, which are wrong and the cause of our problems, and trying to stuff them in. In fact, the book told us about this very issue. Why has it taken us 2,500 years to listen to Socrates and learn the Logos? Because it's taken us just that long for there to be a couple of human beings to emerge who weren't motivated by the desire to stuff their own bullshit beliefs in and actually listen. It's taken us that long to listen without interpretation. So we've had to learn to read, but in learning to read and reading this particular book, we have come to understand what definitionally has to be the meaning of life. It's not a belief, it's not a debate. It necessarily follows. It will always follow. Because that's the nature of understanding. It will always be true. So, this applies to individual souls. The cause of our individual problem is a false, unsuspected belief about ourself and reality that becomes our identification and mask and our way of being that we get from childhood in a pseudo-enlightenment scene. And the way that we were crushed becomes our pseudo-excellence that our soul seeks until we wake up and learn the dialectic. which is philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, to surface those unsuspected beliefs and purify ourselves from them by understanding them. Just understanding. Don't have to pray to anyone or develop magic powers, it's just understanding. Just takes courage, an open mind, and an open heart. And ideally, friends in the game to talk to.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
So, two things, and you can say it a million different ways. Purification and perfection. Escaping fate, reaching our purpose, or our highest purpose called destiny. Removing our pathologos, mastering the logos. Removing problems, or removing beliefs, developing understanding. I'm saying the same thing, two things, lots and lots of different ways. And last time we talked about how comedians, that's their job, that's their entire job. To make that single point many, many times with many, many different examples. Ideally, leading the audience to come to that realization, oh, the problem was caused by a belief, the solution is caused by understanding themselves. That's the punchline. And they'll laugh at the absurdity of their previous position when they see their new position. That's comedy. Now, that's the individual soul. Now, collective problems, the problems that we face in society, is nothing other than that writ large. We can analogically understand everything that we've been learning about our individual problems and apply it to society. Why? Because societal problems is nothing other than the sanctification or the universalization, making sacred, or the universalization, making it a universal, or the pedestalization, putting it on a pedestal of our false beliefs. It's not me that hates women, it's Jeebus that hates women. It's not me that says our family should be rich, it's God that says so. That's religion. And politically, it's the same thing. Political laws can either be the universalization of personal beliefs to protect beliefs and traditions. Oh, I like being a billionaire and watching children starve, so let's make a law, call it capitalism. Our fiduciary responsibility to maximize profits at the expense of human lives and suffering. Yes, let's make a law about that. Now, again, if that's the cause of human problems, the making universal of beliefs either through religion or politics, then we know the solution. Having a theology that represents understanding, or recognizing that our stories about divine characters are nothing other than metaphorical personifications of metaphysical principles that you can understand and experience yourself. That's what actual theology is. To help us remember and develop understanding. Equally so, a just society will have laws that reflect the logos. So this book, in learning how to read, by reading this book, learning it, reflecting on ourselves as we go through the process, we have come to understand the nature of individual problems and the nature of societal problems. But there's another level that we've been playing with, thanks to the book. Your soul. Your soul's journey through many incarnations. We just mentioned that, hey, even under the same conditions, twins will develop a different pathologos. In other words, the meaning that we take away from the initiation experiences, the pseudo-excellence, are going to be different. Meaning your soul comes in with a, I don't know if I want to say personality, but a way of interpreting things, a way of making sense of things. That's false. So that when you are born into this period of time, period of history, this family, with their weird way of being, mummy and daddy are like this, and the house smells like that, and the culture is like this, and the religion is like that. These are the conditions that are going to represent your soul's problem, and the way that you make sense of that initiation scene under those conditions will reflect your soul's problem that you have been incarnated to solve. So, and we've been developing arguments, not arguments, that's not the right word, because arguments sound like you're arguing with someone. Dialectics. We have been showing how this has to be the case rationally. And not only that, we have been making dialectics to nail down what gets in the way of the purification and perfection. Things like punishment. The child abuse of telling children that they are bad. They are bad noodles or small beans. They are not good enough. They are inadequate. They are sinners. Oh, I've gone too far, too quickly. So, that's injustice. When we act like we're justified while spreading false beliefs, or just beliefs in general, because that's not good. Beliefs are in opposition to understanding. Giving beliefs to children about the nature of themselves and reality, in particular, that they are not good enough. Punishment does the same thing. Punishment doesn't help you purify, but through understanding, it just creates suffering as a state of soul. No understanding, no reflection on causes, no change. The only thing you learn is don't get caught. Doesn't help anyone. So, while we were able to reason through why, on the positive, punishment doesn't create the positive, doesn't help you learn, and on the negative, what it does do, well, vice versa, it doesn't help you learn, but what it does do positively is teach you something bad. Put yourself in a position of power where you can be the abuser, the punisher, where you can do the genocide this time, Jews. Or escape punishment, Donald Trump. Put yourself in a position of power where you can never be punished. That's what you do learn. So, terrible, terrible shit. Injustice. Now, as we just said, human problems collectively is just the sanctification through religion or the pedestalization through laws of false beliefs. So, if those are fundamental false beliefs, the idea of you being a sinner and the treatment of punishment, if that's injustice, then all we have to do is look for that institutionalized in religion. Oh yeah, the idea of sin. Oh yeah, the idea of hell. Oh yeah, that's religion. And in politics, oh yeah, a punitive justice system. Put people in cages. Fine people. Make poverty a crime. That will solve the problem of poverty, surely. That's currently what we do. We make people who can't afford to live, we make that a crime. Disgusting. So, that is a dialectic to show that there cannot be such a thing as the devil or hell or evil. Also, we have another dialectic that we've been doing, metaphysically. If the higher natures of reality, the higher levels of reality are good, the idea of the good is being, and beyond that, the good self, then you can't have evil, which is the opposite of good, as a metaphysical principle. Doesn't make sense. So metaphysically, there can't be such a thing as evil or the devil. So metaphysically, it can't exist, and we know functionally it's just used to traumatize and indoctrinate and abuse people, children especially. The idea of hell and sin and punishment and eternal damnation and a fiery, this one.
A space wizard farted out the universe. All humans are inbred from a single pair of humans, not once but twice. If you're a naughty person, you get tortured eternally in a pool of lava by a vindictive genocidal deity who loves you.
Now, the important word about that, the important aspect of that as well to look at is love. This becomes a model of love and care and knowing. Thus, sadism. Sadism. Sadism is the mark of knowingness for believers. That's why the pages of human history is soaked in blood. It's not a coinky-dink. It's because belief doesn't actually have knowing. Belief is in opposition to knowing and understanding, but our soul still seeks love and goodness and wisdom and to be the big smart person. So you can only function by attacking others who are different from your family clan. They look different and act different from your family clan beliefs. So hurting people or killing people, exiling people, becomes the mark of knowing, and therefore it gives you a feeling, and because there is no feeling of knowing in belief, belief doesn't itself have a feeling, they have to compensate by taking that feeling as what it means to be a knower. This is all in the book. This is a review of the book. That's how good this book is. Helped us to understand, why is cruelty the point? Why do billionaires, why do popes and priests and clergy and Netanyahus and Trumps, and why do they actually seek children suffering? Why does the Israeli army shooting kids in the head for fun? Why is it fun? How can it be fun? Isn't it disgusting? Why, if... I don't know, the guy who runs Amazon, what's his name? Lex Luthor. If he has all the money in the fucking world, why does he want to torture his employees? Why is that fun for him? These billionaires have more money that they can spend in 1,000,000 lifetimes. Why do they also want people not to afford medicine or afford housing or afford food? Why is cruelty the point? Why don't they just spend all that money, helping people? Can't. You can't when you are operating out of that cognitive function of belief. That's it. It's not a mystery. It's not a intertwining web of intrigue. It's just that's what belief is. And we've been able to understand it. It will always be that way because that's what understanding is. So that's where we are in the text. We've got a dialectic that puts an end to hell and punishment and sin and the devil. We've been learning what it means to read without interpretation, discovering the questions, weaving the parts together, looking for analogies like the individual soul to your soul's journey through many lifetimes to the human species, individual pathologos writ large to religion and politics, and your soul's movement through many incarnations. So looking for analogies, arranging the terms. And we've also seen that for each stage in that learning process, there is a feeling state in the body. Meaning you need to be in a body to go through this learning. So we're going through steps in time, which again requires time and space or a body incarnation. And there's a feeling step, a feeling stage, a feeling associated to each stage of that cognitive process of learning, which involves both a purification and perfection. So we've got it on the board because we write it down when we read it. So the stages in one direction of the logos, going this way, from a question to gathering the terms in the book, to arranging them together in diagrams, dialogues, and I'm scribbling over everything here. That can lead to that experience of the brilliant light of being. The extent to which you can participate in this is the extent to which you're intelligent and caring, because it's intelligence itself, the brilliant light of being. It also has a diminishing effect on your false beliefs, because how can you think that you are less if you realize that your consciousness is the nature of eternity? But it's from that experience of, which is described in the in the highest positives: beauty itself, justice itself. This is the model that should be demanded, by the way, for justice, because it's justice itself. And excellence, so it needs to be the model for every politician and spiritual leader. The fact that we have imitators is why we're in the state we're in. But we add understanding to that as well. So understanding goes all the way through, because it's understanding that leads to this, maintains this, uses it as a model in our functioning, as we just talked about. But also you have to understand it to recognize there must be a cause. That's the self. And also understand that if this is the highest experience, its cause has to transcend experience. So you need to take understanding with you, otherwise you'll have that problem some Buddhists have when they reach a state of what they think is emptiness, but without having developed understanding, they won't recognize the self. So it's not an object of knowledge, but it can be understood. That's the self. That's the self of know thyself. And every stage has its equivalent in the other direction. A question about your problem. Being stung. I've got a problem. I'm in philosophical ignorance about my problem. We collect the thoughts, ideas, images, tangents that come up as we move in this direction, in the positive direction. We'll have thoughts that come up that say, you can't do it, do something else, watch a different stream, watch Hassan Piker stream, watch Asmongold stream. These are all problems that will block you. Collect them as the false opinions. Apply the same single skill of learning that we are all here to learn, the dialectic. There are two directions, perfection and purification, but it's a single art. The application of it to these blocks is called philosophical midwifery, and you end up with the freedom from your false beliefs of reality and knowledge, or the shadow. You give up your false pretense of knowing, which does include sadism, as we mentioned, and you end up with a purification once you go through and you see the conditions and causes of your false belief and how it functions and how it has a family lineage and how it goes all the way back to caveman times, and even how the pathologos plays a certain role within human history. If you understand it, you will become free of it. It's not knowledge because it's gone. You can't pass it on. It wasn't real to begin with. A purification of the false image of ourself. That's the cause of our problems. So that's the two directions of the one art that we're here to learn. All from this book. Did I mention this book bangs? Oh, and because we've recognized that the same relationships follow, but on different terms, is the nature of analogy, we can say, oh, it's the exact same thing for religion. Religion means to be bound by belief. So let's get rid of the word religion and replace it with true theology or spirituality. Philosophy. Create stories about mythical creatures that go through this process. By the way, we already have some. It's called the Iliad and the Odyssey. Achilles goes through this purification and this perfection. Same thing with laws. Create a system of cooperating as human beings so that all of our needs are met rationally, renewably, sustainably, with the free use of all technology, not hoarding of it for sick people who want to hoard all the technology or hoard all the resources. Nope. So that we can create laws in which we can go through this process as a collective. And by the way, if we do it, there is an end or a purpose or a goal to human life, and mankind evolves itself to a higher level of being if we do this. If we don't, we go extinct, like many other species who have gone extinct. So that's where we are. Isn't that neat? We understand. And we can take this understanding with us forever. There can never be a hell or evil. Religion is always child abuse. Always. Because it's belief. And belief is the cause of problems. Understanding solves problems. Instead of saying, hey, just believe me, you're going to go to hell. That's fucked. Understand. Learn how to think. You know what you can even do? Understand the nature of the divine and even the cause, the self. In fact, that's specifically what you're here to do. Don't castrate people by saying, oh, just have beliefs, bro. Even if the offer is, hey, you can pretend to be wise as you preach about jeebas in the street. Sadism. So, good book. We can understand human problems. Isn't that neat? We can understand comedy. It's just making this point with personal examples. But leading people to this realization in those examples themselves, so it's a punchline. Dialectic is the same thing. Politics, you want to solve problems of politics? Same thing. Find the two areas where you don't have understanding or knowledge. Kings and clergy. The two things that Bill Burr was not allowed to talk about when he was doing his comedy in Saudi Arabia. And apply the same model to that. Just that simple. So that's where we are in the book, and we have our sound drop from some new sound drops from Professor Dave Explains.
We definitely are not born with a starter kit of beliefs, buddy. Religion is shoved into children's brains forcibly through indoctrination, and if it's any kind of fundamentalism, it's essentially child abuse. Even if a kid was to come to this conclusion totally out of their own accord, that there is a divine entity that created everything, it sure as fuck wouldn't be the malicious sociopathic god that you assholes worship.
Yep. He is on the ball. Professor Dave Explains. Now, of course, just because these people get the approach to the divine wrong doesn't mean everyone does. Just because they are misunderstanding the divine because they're approaching it through this sadistic belief doesn't mean everyone has to. In other words, don't go from 4 belief-based thinking to 5, a massive difference. Realize that there are intelligible principles that we can understand, arrange our soul and society on, based around or in alignment with, to elevate our state of being and our cognitive functioning. So understanding 3, knowledge 2, and self 1. Remember? Tell your friends, by the way. Tell your friends. Not esoteric, remember? We read in the book. This isn't a secret teaching for just the elites. So everyone is in the same boat. Tell your friends. Stage 5, disconnection between the logos. A massive difference. Modern Democrats. 4, conflict between the rational logos pairs, the elements of understanding, conflict within the soul, conflict in harm and functioning. The power to do that harm is taken as the feeling of knowing, which is sadism. That's the cognitive function of belief as number 4. Don't go down to a massive difference. Go up to understanding, to follow, and unify the logos, that intelligibility of reality, in time, understanding. Love and logos, because each of those stages can be experienced and lived through in a loving relationship. And also, we love understanding. It's neat. We say,
"You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now."
No, we don't say that. We say,
"The more holes, the better."
Okay.
Whore.
We say it's great. We say hooray. So we love it. We love to use the dialectic to solve problems and reach excellence. By the way, excellence is a big thing, because the highest excellence that human beings love excellence. We pay lots of money to go and see the most excellent Super Bowl man do the quarterback throwing. The most exceptional. Musicians as well. But what's the highest functioning of humans? This. Dialectic. So that's 3: understanding, following the logos, and unifying the logos in through the dialectic in time, which can lead you to grasp that same logos out of time eternally. That's knowledge. That's the brilliant light of being. And everyone who dies has an experiences that to some level. The depth to which you experience that defines the quality of being that you have, and therefore the quality of reincarnation you have. We want to escape physical incarnation, which we can only do once we've learned what we're here to learn. But also in this lifetime, again, as this applies to our soul's journey, so does it apply to human species and our individual life. In other words, you can have this experience. You don't have to wait till you drop dead to die. You can turn the mind around in self-reflection. That's called ousia. That's what ousia means. We need to use this word because we don't have a word for this in English. To turn around and experience our mind as eternity and become smarter, more rational, but also more caring and empathetic. Providence. And we all have that opportunity at the end of our life as well. That's number 2, knowledge. And Socrates says, hey, I know what knowing, I'm not going to mistake anything else for knowledge. That's his quote. That's misquoted by our grandmas on Facebook. The misquote is Socrates says he's the wisest because he knows nothing. Not what he said. Hey, dancing mushroom. Thumbs up. Hooray for dancing mushroom. He says, I am wiser because I am not going to mistake something I don't know for something I do. And there are 2 reasons for that. First of all, it's the greatest experience you can have, so you're not going to mistake opinions or beliefs for knowledge. That would be insane. But also, going upward from 2 to 1, you wouldn't mistake the knowing of thyself for knowledge. Because even this experience of beauty / justice / excellence / goodness / brilliant light of being, even that experience has those qualities that we can understand, and we can also understand that it must therefore have a cause which transcends its effect. Therefore the self has to be beyond knowledge. So he's not going to mistake the self for knowing. He's also not going to mistake opinions and beliefs for knowing, as regular jabronis do. The many do currently, and in his time. So, the state of self, 1, knowledge 2, understanding 3, the cause of problems, belief, and the conditions for these people to take over, a massive difference. So those are the 5 cognitive states that we can move through, and we've got this from the book. Isn't this book good? This book is a banger. We say of the book,
Do a poggers.
do a poggers.
I'm cute. It's cutie pie.
This book is a cutie pie.
That's weird that you think that.
And it's weird that Emma thinks that. But not weird that we think that because we've been reading it. And of course, ousia-ing our reading, reflecting on the process to learn what it means to read. Currently, our species hasn't learnt to read. Why? Because we are stuck in this cognitive function. So when there are intelligible works, like the works of Socrates and Pierre Grimes, that reflect the logos, that are objects of understanding, we have a need or a compulsion within our soul. So long as we haven't done midwifery and dream analysis, we don't have it has us. There will be a unsuspected, controlling force that will cause us to project our beliefs into that work of understanding, causing us to miss what is being said and just see our own problems reflected back at us. Projection or interpretation. So that's why it's taken us 2,500 years to listen to Socrates. But we can do it. And we're reflecting on that process and learning what it means to read with a capital R. Hooray. Neat. Now, this is interesting because we are answering questions that are normally taken to be taboo. We're not supposed to ask where did we come from before we were born. Where do we go when we die, and what are we supposed to be doing here? Because that would allow us to recognize or ask questions about ourselves, the knowledge that we had before and after we die, and we'd have to be addressing these questions through understanding. These 3 cognitive functions that are our next stages of evolutions are taboo for cavemen, savages, fucking brutes. That's us at our current stage in time. And we either die this way or we become rational and mature. Solve problems and live in a fantastic fucking world. We could do it tomorrow. Today. We could do it today. All it takes is to look at these 5 and go, this is great. And this isn't an opinion, so I don't have to make it something Jesus said, or Abraham, or fucking Muhammad, or Joseph Smith, or Xenu, or fuck that. We can just understand it because it's an object of understanding. You could do it today. So we're learning how to read without projecting our personal beliefs. Isn't that neat? Oh yeah, so and because it's we're answering these questions that are taboo, we are taught when people say things like this to react. Who are you to say? You are arrogant. You are a know-it-all. So, I've never prefaced anything in this stream with, it's my opinion that. Because why the fuck would I? Why would you care what I think? Opinions are stupid. All we're doing is understanding. And putting dialectics or ordered systems of question and answers to a predefined conclusion in our back pocket so we can carry our dialectics with us and share it with our friends. It's just true. But when you say things that are just simple and true about the taboo topics like the meaning of life or how to solve human problems, then we are taught to react negatively. That's not what I heard at school or at my parents. So while my parents thought or my pastor said, fuck you, that's the reaction. Don't fall for it. I speak slowly and I repeat myself because this is fantastic shit. And we have to repeat it to undo all the lies from society and all the other things that we've been talking about today. So I hope you get used to my way of talking. I'm not claiming to have ownership of this. I'm not being arrogant. I'm just reading and concluding and pushing the implications of that conclusion. That's understanding. The implications being, we can solve human problems. Yay, end to war. An end to poverty. Hooray. You might think, well, that sounds so simple. Yeah, it has to be simple. Because that's what understanding is. It unifies the parts so you can see it simply. Yeah, it's simple. Hey, welcome Genevieve. Thank you for the heart. Just 5 stages. 5 ways of thinking. And it's the same parts. We will always perceive and think in terms of whole and parts. Everything you've seen is either a part or a whole. Or both, really. Everything you've seen is the same and different from some other things. It's either in time or out of time. It's either an infinite set, like a counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goes for infinite. Or a limit. It's just how reality is. And we can name these basic units of perception and cognition and reality or existence. They're called the self-ers. Self-ers. Because they have a selfhood as aspects of number 2, knowledge, the brilliant light of being. So the reason why we think whole and part, or we can think through whole and part, is not because there's a filing cabinet in the clouds and we pull out the file that says whole and we pull out the file that says part. And there's also another filing cabinet that has beauty in it and justice in it. So we are attracted to beauty and we seek justice. No, they're not filing cabinets. They're all the one thing. It's just reality, mind, consciousness, being. They're all the distinctions that you can make inherent within the brilliant light of being, which is reality, pure consciousness, mind, that you experience when you die, to the level to which you've done your work, purification, perfection. But you also can separate your soul from the body and experience it in this lifetime. That's the point of philosophy, says Socrates in this book and the Phaedo. That's the exercise of the dialectic. Why? Because all the things that we're using in the dialectic to prove that the devil can't exist or hell can't exist or sin can't exist, they're not physical things. They're principles that apply to all physical things. All physical things don't learn if you punish them. All physical things will just learn not to get caught. Metaphysically, you can't have, in principle, evil existing as an eternal concept if eternity is goodness. So all of the parts that we're using and things we focus on in the dialectic don't apply to our physical senses. What are we doing? The more we do the one thing we're here to do, the dialectic, the more we're separating ourselves, our mind, our soul, from looking at physical shit. Shapes and colors, shiny objects, Bugattis, and Rolex watches, and shiny things, sequence dresses. In other words, we're turning our attention away from the physical world of becoming to the realm of being. Which means we are becoming more like being itself, more focused on being itself, understanding being itself, purifying our false beliefs that tell us to fear being itself, all of which are the conditions for experiencing yourself as eternity, knowing yourself as pure being, the spiritual experience. The dialectic is therefore the archetype or paradigm of spirituality. Isn't that neat? Yeah, so we can say that because we're reading the book. We can say we can solve all human problems because we're reading the book. So I just want to say that because I have noticed that when you say things slowly the way I do, because I'm thinking them through, I'm pondering them, I'm reflecting on them, I'm learning as we go. So if you say things slowly, some people get mad and say, oh, you're condescending. Fuck off, no condescending. I'm just thinking. You're repeating yourself. You're like you're talking down. No, I'm repeating myself because I need to remember this. Because everyone else doesn't talk this way. No one talks this way. Well, Pierre did. Socrates did. So you got to remember it. Practice it. Nurture it into your soul. And people might say, oh, that's impolite because what about my grandma's opinions about Jeebus? Or my aunt's racist opinions? Or my uncle's sexist opinions? Aren't we all entitled to our opinions? Shouldn't you preface everything you say by saying, well, it's my opinion that... No, fuck off. That's the Democrats. Well, it's my opinion we shouldn't have a KKK, Nazi, Gestapo mask thugs kidnapping people in the streets of America. But that's just my opinion. Who am I to say? Let's compromise with Donald Trump and allow a little bit of Nazi death camps. That's fucked. No. So nothing I'm saying is about my opinions or beliefs. And the fact that I'm not saying, well, it's my opinion that isn't me being arrogant, it's that I'm not operating at the level of opinions. That's the problem. That's 5 Democrats or believers. It's my belief that we should give all the money to me, says the preacher. Who cares about beliefs? No one. That's why the door knocking, what are they called? Jehovah's Witnesses. That's why everyone slams the door in their face, because who gives a shit about your beliefs? You got them from your parents and from their parents and from their parents, but I don't think your parents are wise. I only think my parents are wise until I go through midwifery and realize that that's stupid. And they are just in a tradition of doing unto others the same injustice and cosplaying of wisdom that was done to them. That's the family curse. Our job as human beings is to find all of these clan identity ignorant traditions and end them through understanding what they are and how they function. So, very different than any other philosophy YouTube channel or Twitch streamer that I've ever seen, because I don't say it's, well, I believe, or it's my opinion. I never say that, because who gives a shit about beliefs and opinions? And I don't entertain people who come in, they say, what do you believe about X, Y, and Z? Do you believe in Jesus? I said, well, I don't care about beliefs. Well, you shouldn't either. Beliefs are problems. Let's understand what has to be the case. And what's neat about understanding is, if it's true, you can verify it. You don't have to spend your life in belief, because you can literally verify the Logos in direct experience of it. By the way, it kicks ass because it's the greatest experience fucking possible. That's why love and Logos progresses to intent through with your lover. And if you go through this with relationships, but you don't have to. You can perceive levels of beauty through the stages of development outlined in the symposium that we've talked about already. But if you did have a partner who was open to this, good heart, good mind, then what do? You're attracted to them because they look beautiful. Then you can do sexy things. But through the development of understanding and the removal of your false beliefs, you're not playing fantasies out. You're not in your head fantasizing. And you're reflecting on what is beautiful, and you realize, oh, it's a beauty of the soul. No, it's a beauty of the mind. No, it's a beauty of the self. And through this kind of relationship, you awaken higher and higher, more intense experiences of beauty and truth, culminating in the ultimate experience of beauty and truth. That's number 2. Being, or self-beauty. That's why we call them selfers, because each of these words have a self-existence within this same experience of reality. So you can call them self-beauty, self-justice, self-whole, self-part, self-different. But as the symposium ends, that's not the end. That's the model from which you can develop excellence and justice when you apply Logos to that and go beyond it to know the self. Because even that's an experience. There's still a come down. You want to make sure your come down includes Logos, or rather the afterglow. Let's not use come down. In the afterglow, love and Logos. So, can we understand all human problems? Yep. All societal problems? Yep. The inevitable disaster or fate awaiting us if we don't? Yep. Which is just the implications of this as a dialectic, or the negative dialectic of belief? Yep. We are going to become extinct? Absolutely we will. Or we wake up to these 5 things, yep. And then we solve problems and develop a wonderful way of living. And continue to evolve better and better and better and better and better until mankind evolves to a higher state of being. Yep. Simple, right? Well, it's simple because we've written it on the board. And we've written it on the board because we're reading it. And we're only able to read this book because there was an author of this book who discovered philosophical midwifery and dream analysis that was buried when we murdered Socrates 2,500 years ago. So he was able to read Socrates because he was the only person not compelled. You don't have it. You don't do this on purpose. If parents knew the disaster of their pathologos, they wouldn't choose to pass it on to their kids. It has us. We are enslaved. We are zombies to our pathologos beliefs. Until you get freedom. You can only get freedom through the use of this dialectic applied to examining the root causes and conditions and functioning of your false beliefs. But you can't actually finish that until you recognize that all of the stages of learning your false belief are distorted reflections of enlightenment. In other words, you have to also be reading Socrates to understand that there is a brilliant light of being. That's a monad. That's a oneness. That has a metaphysical scope over members within its class. Just as the pathologos has family members that take on a diminished version of the pathologos. So he was fortunate, well, we were fortunate enough that Pierre Grimes learnt the dialectic. He did it by working with alcoholics in the 60s. So I don't know why you're an alcoholic, but let's talk. By talking to them, they really realized there was an intelligent, understandable, rational pattern behind all of these alcoholics' problems. And then realized, oh, hang on a second, Socrates is saying the same thing. He rediscovered the philosophical midwifery. So, being the first human in 2,500 years not to be compelled to project his personal beliefs into the pure rationality or intelligibility of the logos of Socrates, Diotima, and Parmenides, his teachers that we learn about in the Symposium and the Parmenides. Allowing him to understand Socrates, understand the logos, and write it in a book. So we can say, oh yeah, we can understand these things simply and obviously, universally, help everyone for always, individually, escape your soul's cycle of reincarnation into misery, and also save humanity. We can say that because we're reading. And we only know how to read because Pierre Grimes showed us in the book. And we're applying this new way of reading without interpretation to the logos. And the only reason why we can do that is because he was able to read Socrates because he did midwifery. In other words, it's the book. The book's a banger. And then we can make statements. Oh yeah, problems are caused by belief. But surely not my... No, yeah, everyone's. That's it. But I like my beliefs. Oh, well then you're fucked. You're an unjust person. You're playing favorites. Do you like sexist beliefs? No, they're bad. What about Jewish genocidal beliefs? No, they're bad. What about Catholic genocidal beliefs? Oh no, they're bad. Racist beliefs? Actually, I like some. They're okay. You're playing favorites. That's not a principle. That's hypocrisy. That's injustice. But I want to be polite to the Nazis. let them do some racism. No, yeah, that's not polite. That's injustice. You're hurting their soul, you're hurting everyone's souls, and you're putting an end to human life. Yep. Good work, Nancy Pelosi, by not standing up to the Nazis. You are hurting everyone, including the Nazis, and putting an end to the human race by allowing the Nazis to let their fascist, false beliefs take over. So, yeah, a little bit of a tangent, but to address the style of this podcast. And again, I'm not entertaining. Well, I'm trying to be. Look.
Is this chat dumb?
Sound like she's saying come.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
I find that very entertaining.
So it has some funny sound drops. But yeah, so it's not arrogance, it's not personal opinion, it's not, I don't know, talking down to people, because it's a different thing. It's just this is what it is. But I am trying my best to make it engaging and entertaining and explain it and walk everyone through it, anyone who's paying attention. So, yeah. But as we said in the book, as we saw in the book, the issue is twofold. Entertain. Here. The many out there seek only to be entertained and not taught. And again, the many can only be entertained, not taught the mysteries. That's the first thing. And the other issue that we have in the book with this material is this old problem. What's the old problem? The old problem is if you want to make some teaching private so it can earn the title of being esoteric, some special, mysterious, only for special people kind of a thing, all you have to do is state it clearly and simply. And you will find no one will get it. So maybe if I was a comedian, I could not say it simply and clearly and leave it for the audience to figure out. But we're just reading, so we're saying it clearly and simply. But it's an old problem, no one will get it. Which is wild. To me, I find that wild. I've always found that wild. So here it is. Here are the 5 stages of cognitive development that are either the conditions for problems, the cause of problems, the solution of problems, and the excellences that we can reach free of our problems, and our final goal and destiny and purpose for the whole thing, to know the self. There it is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're saying it simply, we're saying it clearly, but you do it. You make it entertaining. Because we all need to hear it. And plus, it's neat if there are other people who are into it, because then you have someone to talk to. You can reflect on your dreams, on your problems, on your blocks, on what you've been reading. You can practice these dialectics. Hey, practice the dialectic on why hell can't exist. Practice the dialectic if punishment does exist, if it doesn't exist. There's only one activity we're here to learn and practice. It's the dialectic. You can apply it to every dream you have, to every block you have, and to your highest excellence in reading. And fourth, your creations. Whatever is your hobby. So those are the 4 aspects of the dialectic. True in your reading. Removing what's false, midwifery. The guide for both dream analysis and your sharing or creations is your mythology. Great stories. Write songs. So, for everyone, do a funny voice to make it entertaining, and also, I don't know how you can get over the problem that if you say it clearly and simply, no one will get it. Yeah, that is a puzzle. I remember talking with Pierre in person, the meetings in California that I was at, and I would ask him a question, or he would say something, and it would blow me away. But it came with a lot of confusion and unease, because he just said something simply and clearly that completely changed the game, and no one else in the room reacted. They nodded their head and agreed, and some, said, "Oh, that's interesting," or whatever, but I couldn't believe that they weren't reacting to what he was saying. And then like a month later, I'd refer back to what he said, and people would say, "Oh, no, he didn't say that." Like, you were there. What happened? I don't know if it's a timing thing. I know the idea of the one self he talked about many, many years ago before he completely introduced it into his classes. It took 20 years or more for him to bring everyone up to speed, because he'd mentioned the one self and people would get crazy. No, it's just the one self. That's crazy. It's the one or the good. But now it's obvious. Oh, it's the one. Of course it's the one self or the good self. What do you think is the highest term? Whatever is the highest term, there has to be something, it has to be an agent experiencing it, knowing it. What's that called? The self. Oh, of course. Oh, and then once you can understand it, you can see it. It was written there the whole time. Socrates was saying it the whole time. Autos. Self. Yeah, and I remember asking questions, and he gave an answer. Like, holy fucking shit, you just answered that? How can you just answer that clearly and simply? Didn't always. Often he wouldn't answer, but yeah, I don't know. I'm daydreaming. But yeah, lots of times where he said it clearly and simply and no one got it. And of course, there's the other side of it. You might say something profound or something that represents the logos or the self or those higher levels that will trigger people. Even the best people can be triggered. Why? Because if you've still got a path of logos, it functions to block the logos. So the higher up the logos you're talking about, the more likely you are to trigger someone. So that's a problem as well. In other words, we have to learn the logos and learn how to solve problems while acknowledging we have those very problems we are learning about. In other words, if there's a problem, it needs to function in a way to prevent us from understanding problems. Otherwise, we could simply understand problems. If we've got a block, it has to protect itself. That's one of the metaphysical principles. Remember, we've got Now, the Pathologos is a shadow of metaphysics, but it still has those qualities in its shadow form. So we've got the anagogic triad, the power triad, and the preserving triad. There has to be something keeping your problem alive. We have to acknowledge this. Human beings have problems. An aspect of that problems is it blocks you from whatever you need to do to solve the problem. Otherwise, it wouldn't be much of a problem. If it's the strongest force in the universe, more powerful than even enlightenment, because we know people have had enlightenment experiences, but they go straight back to their problem unless they've gone through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis. It's stronger than enlightenment. The pathologos, the root cause of human problems, a fundamental false image and belief that we identify with about ourself and reality, that's the cause of all human problems, is the most powerful force in the physical world. Part of that power is preserving. In other words, the thing that we're here to learn, mastery of the logos through the dialectic, is the thing you are least likely going to want to do. Because if you did it, you'd become free. You wouldn't have your problem. It wouldn't be much of a problem if it didn't block you from freedom to be yourself, to reach your excellence. That's the issue. So how do we talk about the logos if people... So I joke about Hassan Piker a lot, but he's someone who shares a level of logos, a level of understanding of, not what we do here, but he's interested in understanding problems and helping people. I've never seen so many people be irrationally hating on this guy. It's insane. It's not insane. It's completely irrational. Why? By trying to understand problems and be rational in his approach to human problems, understanding the cause of human problems in society, he is sharing in the logos to a degree. Which means everyone else who has a problem, which is every single human being, is going to be triggered by that in some way. The more belief-based you are, the more strongly in the belief-based level, number 4. In other words, the more irrational and cruel you will be, as well as triggered. So not only is he triggering people, he's triggering the most cruel and stupid people. So at the time of recording, there's something about him using a shock collar on a dog that he has. And it's not a shock collar. That's it. It's just not a thing. It's not real. But the amount of people talking about it that's being sent to me in my YouTube feed and content creators talking about it, it's insane. Why? Because it was never about the actual thing itself. They don't care about animal well-being. They want an excuse to exile or murder something that challenges their belief. What challenges the belief? Understanding. That's it. It's just 2 things at work: belief and understanding. That's it. Belief functions as the cause of its problems because it blocks understanding. That's what it means. A block is a block to your development. That's the definition of a block. Meaning beliefs have to block understanding. How does that function in a human being? Hate, murder, genocide, exile, mocking, ganging up. These are the ways human beings express and experience the beliefs blocking of understanding. That's why fascists, that's why Professor Dave, this guy.
A space wizard farted out the universe.
No one seems to be learning or growing.
A space wizard farted out the universe. We definitely are not born with a starter kit of beliefs, buddy. Religion is shoved into children's brains forcibly through indoctrination.
That guy. Professor Dave explains his job is to find all of these political and religious figures, or usually it's a combination of both, who are lying about understanding, to get people to hate understanding, shut down the universities, ban vaccine research, ban childhood cancer research. Don't teach history in schools. Just teach beliefs in schools, religious beliefs. It's the height of absurdity, ignorance, immaturity, and injustice. But of course it is. That's what a human being is. Human being gets a problem. It's a belief. How does it function? Why is it a problem? It can only be a problem if it blocks things that are good. If it stops you from stubbing your toe, that's a good thing. That's not a problem. If it stops you from eating all the ice cream and getting diabetes, that's not a problem. That's a good thing. It's only a problem if it blocks good thing. What's the good thing that we're here to do, everyone? Develop understanding. Realize that understanding is the logos, that it has a metaphysical existence, so you can learn the aspects of understanding. That's the self-logos. So they're called the selfers because they have a self-existence outside of the physical world, giving rise to the intelligible paradigms in our physical world. Realizing that the structure and use of that is the dialectic, not debate, not appeals to authority, dialectic. And realizing that you can actually experience them, that's the movement from understanding to knowledge, and also go beyond to know the self, which is the root cause and source of the logos and the whole purpose of the logos unfolding to begin with, to know the self. That's what we're here for. Everyone. Always. This is what it means to evolve. Therefore, all of those things are also the standard for what it means to have a block. A block has to block this. It has to block understanding, because it's through understanding in the dialectic that you will get number 3, that's understanding. Reach number 2, the selfers, being. And you go on to, that's to know the self. So that's 1, 2, 3, that's philodianoia. It's the love of understanding, philodianoia. That's how beliefs function, as a block, to block the development of the dialectic. That's it. So here's Hassan talking about, hey, let's understand politics. Let's understand the cause of problem. Let's not just hate the brown people like the fascists trying to manipulate you through your beliefs, through your racist beliefs, through your family beliefs, through your religious beliefs. Yeah, they're fucking with you. They're grifters and liars. Some of them believe their own shit, but most of them are just manipulating your beliefs. That's the game. That's marketing. That's capitalism, baby. So instead of being an obedient believer, Hassan say, let's understand problems. Let's understand the genocide. Let's understand the root causes of the genocide. Let's understand what we need to do to make our world better. So the majority don't do that. They're stuck in belief. So their blocks function as an irrational and cruel or sadistic and clan-based identity we can bind together in our shared hatred of this one guy who wants to understand things. Fuck him. I know that feeling. I've been there before. Bound together in a clan-based identity based on a belief in opposition to understanding. That's the human condition at this level of history. It will also be the last stage of human condition, because unless we realize this and realize we're in it, so we got to do this love of understanding anyway and put an end, or recognize that humans are going to be in opposition to the very fucking thing that they need to solve their problems, understanding, recognize that they will be hating the thing that they want. They won't want to drink their medicine, because that's what it means to have a block. That's what a block is. If we realize that, we can solve problems and develop a utopia and evolve as a race. If we don't, we die. And so that's the current controversy against Hassan shocking his dog. That's populating my YouTube feed at the moment. Nothing to do with his actual dog's health or well-being, or actually what the nature of the collar was. Apparently it's a vibrational collar or something. He's a big dog and he has to sleep on his special dog bed, otherwise he will hurt his joints, even though he wants to sleep on the floor. So Hassan is training him that if he's going to be sleeping all day, sleep on this special dog bed, otherwise you'll get joint problems. But that's animal abuse. Of course not. It doesn't matter. That's the nature of belief. They clip chimp. That's what it is. You look for excuses to justify your sadism of your belief. That's the genocide. The what was it, October 10th or something? When the Palestinian people tried to fight back against their decades of violence and oppression. Now, there's evidence to suggest that it was purposely done to have a justification for the genocide that the Jewish state wanted. Like many instances in history where people will just create or fabricate the excuse, or they call them agent provocateurs or false flags as well. You send a few cops into the protesters to start burning things, and now you've got an excuse to shoot all the protesters, which was the thing you wanted in the first place, manufacturing the problem reaction solution. We want to do a genocide, so let's, create this group called Hamas, or even pretend that these people are Hamas. Let them do bad things, and we'll say, oh, now we've got an excuse. That's our modern justice system. I want slaves in the prison system so I can make money, says the capitalists. So let's find ways of manufacturing crime. Here's a good way. Make universal human needs like housing and food expensive so no one can fucking afford it. Then you can then you can have a slave race again. But not based on racism, but oh no, because they're bad people, they're criminals. We can use them as slaves and exploit them because they're criminals. Bull fucking shit. Bullshit. Believers are looking for an excuse to inflict their sadistic cruelty or punishment to justify enslaving and tyrannizing people who are different from their family clan. That's it. That's what human problems are. Always. Or said more simply and clearly, belief blocks, hates understanding, kills understanding, whereas understanding solves problems that are caused by beliefs, can unify the human race and reach our excellence. Understanding good, belief bad. That's it. Always. Everything else is just saying it in different ways. Why? Because it's in the book. Not because it's in the book, because it's true and we can understand it. Because we're understanding also the principles of the understanding that led us to that conclusion. And it's not an opinion. So, I was going to read. It's quite late here where I am now. And I had a big day of music. And travel for music as well. And so I was going to keep reading because I want to see where this book goes. How far are we through? We're on page 133. And there are how many pages? 239. So a little over, maybe what, 3/5 of the way through? A little over halfway. So I've read a lot. So we're so smart. Oh my God. You and me, we're so smart and wise. Because look at how much of the book we've read. Look at it. See? All the highlighting starts here. All the way through. It's all stuff that we know. How smart are we? So smart. How smart are we?
Do a poggers.
We're poggers smart. How smart are we?
Beat a kid in Walmart.
We're smart enough to beat a kid at Walmart.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
These days. See? Look how smart we are. All the colors. Colors means they're in our brains now. See? Look. And now it's, see? There's no colors. Means it's not in our minds yet. So we've got a little bit to go. So I was going to read, and because I can read, even though I'm tired, but now I'm even more tired. So I don't want to read right now. But I think I will post this one because I think it is worth addressing the fact that you might not want to listen or read or like the stream. But if you don't like the stream, you should watch it anyway, because if you don't like the stream, it's just a block, baby. It's a block to your own development and logos. But also, that was a joke. Haha. That's me making a joke. But also, it might sound different. You're used to hearing people say, well, I believe, and you're used to listening to people who you already believe with. Those are the people who we're attracted to, people who share our beliefs. And this is going to be a challenge to all beliefs, everyone's beliefs. It's specifically understanding. It does challenge everyone's belief. So it's going to be weird. And also, I never say it's my opinion that. I never use that expression. Everything we talk about is not from me, it's just from truth and the book. Because it's understanding, it's always true. So, it's going to be weird, it's going to sound arrogant also because it's something that we have to think through, and I talk slowly. It's not patronizing, I'm just thinking as I talk. Also a lot of repetition. That's because it's new ideas and they are profound and we need to ingrain them in our soul, and I want to remember them. And also we get bombarded with the exact opposite all day from everyone else. So again, repetitive. Here I am repeating myself. Repetitive, but for a reason. Talk slow for a reason. Say things that are simple and true and clear. Not because I'm arrogant and I think my beliefs are right. No, it's just because they're just the truth, and it's not what I'm saying. Yeah, so it is weird, and my goal is to share this with everyone and help people to discover the very thing they need to remove their problems and their suffering, so they can be happier, so they can function well, and so they can fulfill their purpose in life. And also, not get stuck in cycles of reincarnation where you suffer endlessly. And also to have people to talk to. It's the best thing to talk about, and it helps everyone. So the more people in the game, the more people I have to talk to. Currently, with Pierre passing away, there aren't a lot of people to talk to. In fact, I can count them with not 0 fingers, because there are 0. Yeah, which is weird. That the best thing that no one's... Although Socrates said this, he said this specifically in the Republic. The issue is, he outlines the training of the philosopher king. It culminates in the dialectic. But there are some prerequisite training, like developing the virtues, like keeping your cool, so you can stay in the game, seeking truth, and keeping in your soul and understanding that the worst thing is the pathologos, because the pathologos will try and fuck you up. That's courage, by the way. Following the logos and organizing yourself to the logos as a virtue of wisdom. Doing this at all times, that's justice. So you've got to have these already in place. But once you've got those down, you can go through the studies. And he outlines 5 studies in the Republic, which lead to the 6th. The 6th is the dialectic. That's when we're going straight there. We're not fucking around on this channel. We're just doing the dialectic from day one. No, not day one. Like earlier in the this channel's history, we started with the Parmenides, and we read the opening to the Parmenides before he outlines the dialectic of the logos, outlining the 9 possible ways of thinking and types of cultures and stuff that can exist, which is why it's the greatest book never read. But before that, there's a little introduction where a 19-year-old Socrates goes on a journey with his friends to meet Parmenides, who's like 60, and he's there with his student Zeno, who's 40. So like 60, 40, 20. Hey, it sounds like my EQ. I'm trying to make my stream sound good, decent too, and I've been struggling for a long time. Anyway, so Parmenides says to Socrates, "Look, you're not going to find the truth unless you learn the dialectic." That's what Zeno's been doing, and he gives you a puzzle. Like he gives you a few paragraphs where you got to puzzle through to put the dialectic together. So we have done that on the channel, and I urge you to go through and find that series on the opening of the Parmenides and go through it as well. So you can, see where it originated from. But now we just use it. We're just doing it. Just going for it. Let's use the dialectic. I explain it like every 2 days. I explain the dialectic again, seeing as it's, the meaning of life to do it. Yeah. Yeah, so, so that's the Parmenides, and why was I talking about the Parmenides and the dialectic? God damn, I lost my train of thought. I'm sleepy. Yeah, we're here to do the dialectic, share it, make it interesting, make it fun. But yeah, so I guess I'm going to keep this, and I am going to post it just for the fact that, it's worth saying. I'm not as funny as some streamers. I'm not engaged in entertainment slop as the Asmongold's and the other streamers. I'm not as physically stunningly beautiful as a lot of popular streamers are, which helps them share understanding if they're already hot. I don't even have good equipment. I'm using my webcam and a guitar pedal for an audio input thing. But it's worth sharing and doing anyway, and it's worth outlining that, I hope you can see through my style and not do what beliefs want you to do. Beliefs want you to find reasons to reject understanding. He is arrogant. Look at him saying things clearly and simply. He is rude. Beliefs need to block understanding. So you look for, that's clip chimping. That's what we've been talking about with Hassan Piker. Any excuse to hate on the guy because he wants to share understanding to solve human problems. I mean, again, hopefully he learns the logos so he can do that, but doing his best where he's at. So look for, clip chimping. I'm not watching this channel. He's rude. He's not allowing my precious religious beliefs, or my auntie's crazy beliefs, or my uncle's sexist beliefs. We should allow all beliefs. No, that's just beliefs finding an excuse to protect itself. Look at how slowly he talks when he's thinking. He's patronizing. No, I'm not patronizing. I don't know who you are. I'm thinking and trying to learn myself and trying to say it clearly. Waka waka. I'm not being a angry Bill Burr comedian or whatever. So yeah, so that's what we addressed. All of these things that you could take as an excuse to, based on my tone or personality or whatever. It's just clip chimping. Don't worry about it. I'm just learning, and my goal is to share it as best I can, to help other people, to perhaps save the human race, to perhaps create a better world to live in, and also to have people to talk to, because it's the funnest game in town. They call it the noblest game, and I'm
looking for someone to share in an adventure.
I'm looking for someone to share.
I'm
an
looking for
adventure.
someone to share in an adventure.
It's not a solo quest. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get better at the streaming thing, or maybe I will decide maybe to appeal to some beliefs in some way, or maybe I'll get hotter. I don't know. Because the goal is to share it and have people to talk to. But we will keep going. I do have these characters. They're fun. Where are they? Oh, they're on the wrong screen. These guys. These guys here. See these guys? They're fun. Oh, and of course, the other books that we're reading, or we started to read, like the Is It All Relative book, that's cool. That's more accessible, I think. It's modern. It's not Jesus and Socrates having a conversation in heaven. It's people at a Greek corner restaurant having a conversation about regular stuff like, hey, is everything relative or is there actual truth? It's a good opener. But we started reading that here, but this book was just so fantastic. Oh my god. I can't stress how good this book is enough. Because we've been talking about the meaning of life so long that I can't say this book is so good because it tells everyone the meaning of life. Like, that's old hat. Yeah, no shit, it talks about the meaning of life. It's a good book. But it is. It's so fantastic. So I think I've got about 50. Oh, we should have had a party for our 50th. I think we're on like 53 or something, or 55. But maybe we'll have a party on our 60th stream to celebrate the 50th stream or something. But yeah, so we will get into other content after we finish this book. That is going to be more fun and entertaining. So stick with it. But this book is fucking good. So good. My goodness. But also this issue of how do we share Oh, that's what I was talking about before. I got off topic. So all of the studies lead up to, like, the development of the virtues lead up to these 5 preliminary studies which lead to the dialectic. That's what I was talking about. And then I got off on a tangent to talk about where we learned the dialectic. But to make the point that we're just doing the thing. We're just doing dialectic. We're looking for it in the text, in the thinking of Socrates, in the structure of the book, in the thinking of the author. And the arguments, a dialectic of why punishment isn't real, a dialectic of why the devil and hell isn't real, the dialectic of why sin isn't real. We're using it to nail down these ideas in our soul forever, and to help others by sharing it, the dialectic. So we're just doing the thing. But there is supposed to be 5 preliminary studies leading up to the dialectic, and one of them, the third one, is called solid geometry. Charm. How to have charm as a teacher and how to have charm as a student. But in talking about that, he says, look, here's the issue. The issue is everything we've said today about how great it is and how important it is and how I want to have people to talk to and how we can make the world better and save humanity, all this sort of stuff. All that's true, but here's the issue. Solid geometry. There are no teachers of everything we've been talking about today, of this, and there are no students of this. Who else is talking about this stuff? And I'm not a scholar on the board of Harvard or whatever. They're not going to listen to me. They're not going to care what I have to say. And how many How many people watch Hassan's stream? 50,000. How many people watch Asmongold's stream? 50,000 maybe. And then plus they get like sometimes 1 million viewers of their YouTube slop, of Asmon's YouTube slop or whatever. How many do I have? My thing is showing me I have one person in stream. And that could just be my bot. I don't know. My chatbot thing. There are no teachers and there are no students. Why? Because everyone thinks they already know and understand their self. Why? Because every human being gets a belief about the self and what knowing is, which is the imitation of their parents, and what their self is. That's what it means to be human. You've got a problem. How do you solve this? Dialectic. Dialectic solves this problem. But how can you learn dialectic if the problem is you think you already know? How can you solve the problem if the problem is you think you don't have a problem? That's the human issue. That's why no one reads the Parmenides, and no one's, I don't have all of Hassan and Asmongold's stream viewers. I mean, there are lots of other reasons. I'm not very entertaining or whatever. But this is the fundamental one. And Socrates says this. It was as true 2,500 years ago as it is today. We all think we know what we are. Do you know what happened before you were born? Nope. Where you're going? What the meaning of life is therefore here, based on those two? Shut up. I know what I am. I understand myself. We absolutely don't. You need the dialectic to reach those things, and you need the dialectic to remove your false images of knowing and the self. That's the issue. It's the best game in town. It's what we're here for. It's literally the purpose and meaning of life, to master the art of the dialectic. It's what solves problems. It's what needs to reach our excellence. It's only one thing. It's clear and it's simple. But there are no teachers of it, and there are no students of it, because every jabroni out there thinks they already know what they are, and they think that they understand themselves, even though they don't. And it's this, the false belief about this, that is the literal cause of everyone's problems and the problem of our human race. Only when we acknowledge this can we save humanity. Or to quote the book, only when we acknowledge this can we allow what we're reading, this book and this philosophy, to play an important role here. When the society turns towards the mind and realizes this fundamental problem, which is called solid geometry in the Republic, in book 7, so I put it on the board. Solid. Now, solid, it's not actual, it's not how we think of solid geometry, but that's what Socrates calls it. Some geometry. Solid geometry. Only when we acknowledge that this is the issue, no students of dialectic, no teachers of the dialectic, No one wants to learn it. No one wants to learn this philosophy because they already think they know, which is the very nature of the problems, which means we can't solve problems because we're not learning the art of how to solve problems, and we're not addressing our problem because we don't think our problem is a problem. This is the problem. Okay? Only when we acknowledge that can we solve problems and make the world a better place and put an end to violence and all the injustice and stuff. And read this book. Everyone can read this book every day. What? And we can make a Netflix series on it. And make an anime based on it. Oh my god, how cool. But only when we realize that can we have a better world. When society turns towards mind, capital M, and the things of mind, there is a flowering of culture. But when it turns criminal and becomes oppressive, our current world, my kind of philosophy cannot play its public role. That's the issue. We have to overcome the problem of solid geometry. We can only have a better world if this book and what we're doing here plays a public role. Or, as said in the Republic, philosophers become leaders or leaders become philosophers. But currently not, because we live in a criminal and oppressive world. Kings and clergy, baby. Religion and politics, baby. Belief, baby. Fuck understanding, baby. That's the issue. So, I think I will keep this video and post it because, to talk about this, talk about how I talk and why I'm doing this channel and the importance of it, and really that
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
it's the best game in town. It's the noblest game, they call it. Homo ludens, man the player. That's a term from somewhere. But yeah, there's, it'd be nice to have someone to play the game with. Even one-on-one requires two people. And there currently isn't. But hopefully there can be, so long as we overcome this. And that's the aim of the channel. And worth talking about, worth taking a moment out of the stream and reading to talk about this. And just say,
You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm looking for someone to
And
share
I'm
in
looking for someone to
adventure.
share an adventure. And also,
The more holes, the better.
the more holes are better, which we think about that.
Don't be disgusting.
Don't be disgusting. Come on, Emma. Or, as said in the book, if we want a flowering culture, this Philadelphia has to play a central role. Otherwise, criminal, oppressive, end to life. So, that's why I try and stream every day, even though I'm a little bit exhausted from a day of music and stuff. Keep it going, keep the audience engagement, and And so maybe today was one of those regular stream stuff where you get to know the streamer. You can develop a parasocial relationship with me. That's a thing, isn't it? I talk about myself personally today, and then you'll feel like, he feels like my friend or my buddy, or if you're a lady, my boyfriend. I can be your Hassan Piker parasocial boyfriend, or whatever he does to some people, or however that works. Or Pokimane. I heard someone say that people think that her appeal is she's a girlfriend simulator or something. I don't know if that's a thing or not. I can imagine that. I can see how that would work. So yeah, maybe that's what it is for me today, and everyone will fall in love with me and become my parasocial friend or boyfriend or girlfriend, and I'll get it. All of Hassan Piker's viewers and Asmongold's viewers and Pokimane's viewers, and everyone will learn the dialectic, and we will have a flourishing of culture and put an end to the criminal and oppressive world that we live in. That's the purpose of today's stream. and that's why I'll post it, even though I kind of think that it was a bit silly today. Okay. Bit silly today, but why not? Thank you for joining me. Again, you can join the Twitch or YouTube, and you can join the Discord. You'll get a notification when we go live. You can find the PDF to this banger of a book that no one will read because it's so fucking good. Below, find a PDF below, and if you do want to support the channel, that is greatly appreciated. In fact, if I do find a way of, I don't know, I have to get affiliate or something, of supporting myself through this kind of thing, I can make everything better and more fun, get a better camera and blah, 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 and not be exhausted from having to make money doing music. I'll still play music, but I won't, I'll be able to do more of this. So, if you do donate, it is greatly appreciated, and there's a link for that below. Thank you once again, and funny sound drop.
I'm too pure.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
One more.
A space wizard farted out the universe.
Okay. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next noise. See you in the next one. Bye.